Nursing students save the patient's life through an unlikely observation. Tonight, we'll be discussing the case of Oscar Reed, a man who was saved from potentially fatal surgical complications by the courage and advocacy of 4 young adults.
You know, I just love these stories. It's fantastic to see examples like this in the medical field.
Absolutely, and this really is a remarkable situation. Oscar Reed, a 20-year-old from Winnipeg, Manitoba, was going in for emergency surgery to stem internal bleeding after a car accident. Mr. Reed is healing well. However, if it was not for the work of these 4 nursing students, his recovery may have been impeded by lethal complications.
Now, the issue in this situation wasn't complications with the operation itself, but with the piece of surgical sponge forgotten in his abdomen during the procedure. If left undetected, such an error could cause widespread infection and even death.
You know, it's strange because this isn't a risk people would normally associate with surgery.
Apparently, it's not as uncommon as you think. Objects left in a patient after surgery are referred to as retained foreign bodies, and analysis has shown that they can be found in 1 out of every 1,500 abdominal operations.
Research even indicated that this is a conservative estimate, with some studies pointing to odds closer to 1 in 1,000 surgeries.
Now, there isn't one sole method for prevention of these situations, but an important and usually effective procedure is counting all equipment inserted into the body before and after the surgery. These 4 students were only a couple days into their surgical rotation, but they managed to catch something that no one else on the medical team noticed. The 4 young adults have graciously agreed to an interview with us. We'll let them tell their story. It was probably the 2nd day of my clinical. An emergency call came in for a young man with heavy abdominal bleeding, and since we were in the ward at the same time, we were called to watch the operation. I knew 4 of the other observers from my nursing program, so we stuck together.
It was a very interesting situation. The patient was in critical condition, so we weren't really able to be as involved as we might have been if it was a more minor surgery. But we kept track of all the procedures. We were paying attention to how they dealt with everything, and I think that's why we were able to make the call that we did.
As the doctor was sewing the patient up, I started counting up the surgical equipment on the table and realized that there was something missing. I had been intentional about remembering exactly what needed to go where, and I knew for sure the doctor had placed more sponges inside the patient than he had taken out.
Kaycee pulled me aside and asked if I noticed the sponge was placed, and I realized that it was. We didn't know what to do because we thought the doctor must have thrown it away. But when Claire and Samantha heard us talking, they came over. Between the 4 of us, we were still sure that the sponge was still left inside the patient. We didn't know what to do or how to bring it up with the doctor, especially because it was such a trigger operation, and opening up the patient again could be very dangerous. We didn't want to be wrong or risk hurting the patient, but our classes has really put that heavy focus things on like courage and advocacy, so we knew we had to speak up.
Courage and advocacy. That's what these 4 students displayed as they addressed their concerns with the leading surgeon. Sure enough, the team was able to find and extract a piece of forgotten sponge, preventing potentially disastrous complications.
The behavior of these 4 students has been acclaimed by a variety of nurses in the healthcare system, attracting the attention of a notable nursing researcher. Nelda Godfrey, the Associate Dean of the University of Kansas School of Nursing and co-author of a chapter in Concepts of Nursing Practice 2nd edition, contacted us to do an interview as part of this special investigation. Dr. Godfrey, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you co-authored a chapter on professionalism in a curriculum that is used by nursing programs all over the world. Is that correct?
It is. Yes, myself and Nancy Crigger worked on that chapter for the textbook, Concepts of Nursing Practice. Our writing focused heavily on what it means to have a professional identity as a nurse and everything that goes into professional identity formation.
Would you be able to simplify the concept of professional identity for us?
Well, in order to do that properly, I would have to take up a lot of the segment's runtime. But essentially, professional identity in nursing is about having a sense of one's role in the nursing discipline and carrying all the characteristics, norms, and values which come with that. One of the better ways to view professional identity is by breaking it down into what I would call exemplars, which essentially highlight the best examples of professionalism in a variety of categories.
Now, you contacted us to do this interview because you felt that these 4 nursing students had done a fabulous job incorporating 2 of your exemplars into their professional identity. Is that right?
Yes, it is. 2 of the exemplars which I think are absolutely critical to patient care are courage and advocacy. When I heard about this situation, I was really struck by the way that they were able to adopt those characteristics. That's the reason I decided to reach out for this interview, to really highlight situations like this.
Now, for the people out there who haven't read Concepts of Nursing Practice, how would you define those two exemplars?
I would say that courage is all about doing the right thing, no matter how hard it might be. Advocacy is definitely a related concept, as it involves standing up for the rights of a patient and ensuring that they receive the treatment they need, even in the face of adversity.
Interesting. Now, you would say that these 4 nursing students were really able to embody those exemplars. Is that correct?
Absolutely. It took a lot of courage to speak up to that doctor. And in a sense, that's what advocacy is all about. Being that last line of defense for the patient, even when it puts you in an uncomfortable situation.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Dr. Godfrey.
My pleasure.
Although we were not able to get an interview with patient Oscar Reed, he has been vocal on social media in regard to the nursing students who potentially saved his life, calling them his guardian angels.
After the break, we'll return to our interview with these 4 heroes.
Are you looking to build a strong professional identity as a nurse? Well then, this is your lucky day. Simply take 4 years in an intensive nurse training program and you will be on your way to reaching your goals. All you need to do is intentionally apply concepts of professional identity to every facet of your day-to-day life and boom! You will gain a sense of professionalism in nursing career. Try 4 years in an intensive nurse training program today and get your start on being a nurse professional.
Note, this program is not intended for those who do not want to become a nurse. Side effects may include decreased social media shenanigans, a sense of closeness with one's nursing cohort, and absolutely no free time.
We are now joined by one of the 4 nursing students who interrupted a surgery in order to ensure the safety of their patient. Sir, would you say that qualities such as courage and advocacy came naturally to you, or was it something you had to put work into developing?
Well, one important thing to remember is that courage and advocacy relates to our personal identities too. Taking the initiative and courage to help other people is really important to me, as it can affect other people's lives. I've shown courage many times in my life. Helping others to find the right answer is pretty amazing itself. I am one to believe someone can inspire to take courage and help those in need. So just as I work on applying those personally, I definitely had to put more effort in growing them professionally.
Rochone's narrative extended throughout the rest of his student cohort, with the 3 other nurses sharing stories of courage and advocacy in their personal lives.
Courage comes in many shapes, forms, and sizes. The way I have demonstrated courage in my everyday life is going through nursing school, even though everything about it intimidated me. This opened up many doors for me and gave me the opportunity to help and advocate for all patients.
I have a lot of people in my life who are quite intolerant of the LGBTQ community, and being a part of that community myself, I really think that it's important that I be advocating for them, and that can take a lot of courage. It's unnerving to have conversations with people who really don't agree with who you are, and I kind of hope to continue applying that to many different aspects of my life, just pursuing those uncomfortable conversations and advocating for communities that need it.
I strive to demonstrate advocacy in my everyday life by supporting fair trade products, voicing my opinion, and supporting others' rights. For example, I have participated in Orange Shirt Day to promote awareness about residential schools and to commit to the ongoing process of reconciliation.
Well, as this story clearly illustrates, exemplars such as courage and advocacy can play a critical role in the nursing vocation, preventing possibly disastrous situations and highlighting the importance of professionalism in patient care.
You know, I really like how they've been able to apply aspects of professionalism to their everyday lives. It really just shows that something as important as professional identity can't be put to the side the second you leave work.
Absolutely. Next on Central News, we have an interview with the woman who claims she found a gecko head in her grapes. More details after the weather update.